Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our live virtual book tour of non-negotiable self-care. Non-negotiable self-care. This is Dion Brown, licensed therapist here in the DMV, founder of DJB Therapeutic Solutions, pastor and author of Non-Negotiable Self-Care. Tonight, we are excited to kick off our book tour talking about self-care as it pertains to couples. Now, you may be listening now or tuning in later and wondering, what does it mean when we talk about self-care? Self-care is simply the practice of taking actions to preserve your own health, your own well-being, practice of taking an active role in protecting your own well-being. It is the practice of tuning into your own emotional intelligence. And when we talk about non negotiable, it means that one's own self care is not up for debate. It means that you will defend your time, your energy, and your effort as it pertains to your own self care. Non negotiable self care is not up for discussion, dialogue, or debate. And we are happy that this Thursday and every other Thursday for the next 3 months, we're going to be looking at various aspects of self care and sharing various aspects of our book with some invited guests. If you're tuning in, and I'll say this a few times throughout, you will have the opportunity to make statements as well as ask questions. And at the end, we'll have a link where you'll be able to purchase a copy of my book, Non Negotiable Self Care. So, without further ado, at this time, I'm going to introduce and then bring in our first guest. I'm elated tonight that we are going to be joined by two great people who are going to talk with us about couples and self care. The first, there's so much that I could say about each. I'm just going to share a few important tidbits here. The first, her name is Candace Davis Hawkins. She's been a practicing clinician in the state of Maryland since 1994. She has vast experience that includes foster care, school social work, disease management, managed care. She is currently the senior clinical lead strategist for CVS Health, where she supervises a team of nurses and social workers who offer case management to Medicaid recipients in Maryland and Florida. She's also the owner of her very own practice, CDC Connections Incorporated. She's a certified life coach and offers corporate trainings on a variety of topics specifically tailored to the needs of that organization. Additionally, she is a mental health first aid trainer for children and adolescents and a certified adverse child experience master presenter. So without further ado, I want to bring on Candace Davis Hawkins. Hello there. How are you this evening?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I am so glad that you have decided to be with us and join us for this broadcast. Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listening audience about yourself that I did not mention as of yet?
No, I'm just happy to be here and excited to support you and in your endeavor. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that your schedule permitted and allowed you to share. All right. So I'm going to introduce our next guest, and then I'm going to bring him in. None other than Mr. Paul Bashay Williams. He's a licensed clinical social worker, a relationship advisor, business owner, entrepreneur, corporate consultant, and the author of the book, Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. As a business owner, he owns and operates Hearts in Mind Counseling, a mental health private practice here in the DMV. He is a well sought after person to provide corporate coaching and consulting, helping companies address mental health concerns, establish psychological safety, and design safe spaces while ensuring company growth. His writing, public speaking, and trainings have been featured in and on CNN, HBO, A&E, Gilead, churches, universities, Men's Health Magazine, Essence Magazine, BET, Bustle, The Roland Martin Show, Huffington Post, TV One, Radio One, TV Guide, national syndicated radio shows, ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS movies, and conferences. all over the nation. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Paul Bache Williams. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
I am good. I am good. How are you?
I am great. I'm
Great.
great. Happy to be here to have this conversation about self-care.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you were able to join us as we talk about couples and self-care. Is there anything else, as people are tuning in from Facebook and YouTube, is there anything else that you would like to mention or share about yourself that we didn't mention yet?
I guess the only other thing is my wife and I, we own and operate One Love Alliance, which is a ministry. We help couples with communication, intimacy, and a variety of different things from a faith-based perspective. So that's the other thing, One Love Alliance.
Thank you. Thank you. That is a very important addition. So I'm grateful that you shared that with our listening audience, whether people are looking or listening presently or will be looking at the replay. Now, so again, I'm glad to have you both here. We're going to be addressing couples and self-care. So what we're going to do, we're just going to dive right in and see where things take us. All right. So there is a chapter in my book, Non-Negotiable Self-Care. There's a chapter that particularly focuses on couples self-care. And we're going to get to that, some specifics in reference to that in a minute. But when we talk about couples, we're going to talk about couples and self-care, but let's just start at the basic level. When you think of the phrase, either of you can feel free to chime in and add to this as we go along. When you think of the phrase self-care, when you hear the phrase self-care, I'm curious about what comes to your mind when you hear the phrase self-care. And either of you can chime in.
You want to go? I'll go. Okay. I think it's prioritizing yourself, addressing your needs, making sure that you have the things that you want and you need. And I know a lot of people automatically think self-care is selfish or self-care impacts other people in a negative way. I don't think that's self-care. I think it's, again, prioritizing yourself. And sometimes it is a little selfish. It's prioritizing yourself and with the things that you need.
Yeah, I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You got it.
I think about it in that way too, as well as restoration. Like, I don't think that we go, and we give so much to others, to our job, to our families, to our friends, community, that we have to stop and remember that we have to restore ourselves in order to be able to continue to do the things that we love.
Thank you. So, Paul, you said something very interesting. So you said that, and I do address this in the book too. You said that self-care is not selfish, right? You said it's not selfish. I'm wondering, any idea where that mentality, that sort of cognitive distortion comes from with people, where they start to think that them investing in their own self-care and making themselves a priority is somehow selfish?
I think it from a variety of different things. It's the outside voices that when you prioritize yourself and how they respond to it. So if you grew up as a child with a person as with a family that you're always having to take care of everybody else, and then you decide one day I'm tired, I want to take care of myself. The people who are used to you doing everything for them will call you selfish. There's sometimes some experiences that we have that we identify ourselves with the person who shows up for everybody else. And so anytime we don't show up for somebody else, we feel like we're letting other people down. We feel like parts of ourselves is failing because we identify as that person that's always going to be available, that always going to come through. And we walk around with the belt, the self-care. Well, not the self-care belt. We walk around with the belt of I'm the champion of other people.
Yeah.
I'm the champion and I prioritize everybody else's needs. And so once that comes up, and you say, you know what, I'm exhausted, sometimes the outside voice will say, keep going.
Got you. And Candace, you made mention of, you said restoration and recovery.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if you don't take the time out for yourself, then you can't continue to give and give and give. And then you'll be worn out. And then what are you really giving people at that point if you're giving a fraction of yourself and not your whole self? So it's about wellness.
Yeah, it is about wellness, and we talk extensively about, you know, making you the priority, just focusing in on your own self care, as especially as people struggle with being a caretaker for other people, just focusing on your own self care first, so that you can be a better caretaker for other people. All right, now let's dive a little deeper into couples with self care specifically. Do you guys believe that people who are dating or in a committed relationship, long term, engaged, married, ever think that they need to apply self care to their relationship? Why or why not? Yeah.
I
They
think it really
I mean, relationships don't take care of themselves, so you have to put the time and the work in and the investment in. You have to give each other space to be able to have the time for yourself to then come back together and not think that somebody doesn't want to be with you or is, trying to pull away. Give people some space and time so that they can join with you completely.
Yeah, I definitely think that's needed. And I think it depends. Again, if we go back to the first question, some people feel like they have to, like the chivalrous man or the woman that wants to identify herself as a helper. They might neglect their self-care to show up for somebody else. And so until we get into the relationship and we created this pattern and the expectation of you're always going to be there for me, and then you feel neglected, and then we have the tension between the couples and the communication because I'm not getting my needs met. And so I haven't prioritized myself, but I've taught you this is how I'm supposed to love you and this is how you're supposed to love me. So it should definitely be, in a sense, a priority for everybody to have self-care because, like you said, the relationship can't take care of itself. We're all contributing to how the relationship flows.
Excellent, excellent. I love it. Looks like we have a comment. Let me see if I can. Oh, someone just said hello. All right, good. So, hello there, Spin City. We see you. Glad you were able to tune in. All right. So, and I think that's right. Relationships don't take care of themselves. They definitely need investment and engagement. I sometimes don't know. I don't do a lot of work with couples. I have a few. I don't know if it's something that, and I'll give an example in a minute. I don't know if it's something that all couples think about. That they need to be diligent and intentional in doing things to, take care of the couple. I think once people get to the point of marriage, maybe that becomes, or serious relationship, that becomes more of a focus for them mentally. I'm not so sure how much it shows up for some people during the dating phase. What do you guys think?
Hmm. It's been so long since I've been in that phase.
True, true.
I will say this, and I'll use myself as an example. Although I see lots of couples, that's who I love to work with.
Yeah.
For me, I developed a routine of self care, and so as I got to know my wife, she understood the importance and the value of self care. Like
Oh,
I needed to travel quarterly, right? Because I needed to get away. Because if I'm at home, if I'm near the Maryland area, I'm going to answer the phone because
okay.
sometimes my boundaries are loose when it comes to that. But sometimes I feel guilty. Even if I don't answer the phone, there might be something else I can work on. There's another project, there's a book, there's these different things. But if I'm away, it allows me to escape my office, allows me to escape the duties, even the duties at home, cleaning up and all those different things, and prioritizing that, and being a father. So getting away allows me to release some of that. And that was part of my self-care exercise. So she knew my schedule. And then she identified and she was able to share her schedule. So we knew what self-care meant for us. And then we had a conversation on how we can both continue to have self-care together.
Okay. Good. Thank
And
you.
sometimes it's being intuitive and knowing your partner and recognizing signs in them, like when they're stressed and trying to create space for them to be able to kind of calm their mind and their body um, and their spirit that they might not do for themselves. But if you kind of create that space in your environment and give them the permission and opportunity to do that, then they will.
Thank you.
Like, leave them alone, let them rest for a minute.
Gotcha. And for our listening audience, again, feel free to add a comment or ask a question as we proceed. We will be able to see your question and hopefully get to it and answer it as you are, tuning in on Facebook and YouTube. All right. Both of you work with couples a little bit more than I do. Like I said, I have a few couples. I'm wondering what you've seen in your practices about with couples who maybe you've noticed they don't really engage in good self-care as far as the relationship. What have you seen as far as some of those dangers and hazards with those couples?
The communication breaks down. A lot of fighting, resistance, not really making their needs known to one another. And then things start to break down.
Okay.
And then think the resistance looks like resentment. And so for a person who has not been making themselves a priority, all of a sudden wakes up one day and was like, you know what? I need this for me, and goes totally left and neglect the communication, the relationship, and just saying, I'm taking care of me for this week. I don't care what you got to say, as opposed to having a conversation as this thing is building, as opposed to allowing space to say, all right, I notice you need something. What can I do for you? I just need some space. Like you said, breaking down the communication. And so that's what some of the challenges becomes. It comes to resentment, then the argument, and then now you're examining what the other person is doing. Well, you got this. Well, you got that. I don't have this, and I don't have that. As opposed to saying, this is what I need.
Okay. Someone asked a question. They said, "Are you all speaking of self of the? Are you all speaking of self of the relationship or separate?" Anyone want to interpret for me?
So I maybe she's talking about self in the relationship or separate outside of the relationship. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Okay. Hazel Dunvice, if you could resubmit your question, because we're not exactly clear what you mean, and then we'll jump back to it for sure. So thank you. Let me see here. There we go. Take it off. All right. So we'll come back. Hopefully she submits that. So yeah, she put the word self-care. So I'm not sure what she's asking exactly. Because we are focusing on couples in general and self-care. So Hazel Vice, if you want to submit your full question again, then we'll come back to it just to make sure we clearly answer it. Now, number 4. In the book, I use the term or the phrase pair care. That phrase was something that I had not personally heard before until I started doing some research with couples and self-care. Had either of you either heard the phrase before or used it in session?
No. I had not.
Me either.
That was new one now.
Yeah, me either. And so I was very very elated when I came across it as I was working on different areas of chapters for the book. So let me do this. Let me read the phrase pair care, and we can talk about its meaning and implications. Pair care by definition, I'm reading right out of the book. Pair care by definition is anything you and your partner do together that prioritizes your relationship needs above anything else. This type of partner self-care is where there is a mutual movement in putting the relationship and the needs of the relationship first. Pair care examples can range from leaving a social event early to having an important conversation, scheduling mutual massages together, taking a much needed couples trip, as well as limiting cell phone usage to connect emotionally more with each other. So that's kind of what.
So it has a name.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. There's an actual name. Listen, until I started working on the book and doing some research about the different areas I wanted to address, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting.
But those are things that I would kind of recommend to people anyway when working with them as a couple. So it's nice to know that it has a name.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely nice to know that it has a name. But it talks about the phrase talks about intentionally and purposely putting the needs of the couple and the relationship first. And sometimes people get into trouble because they don't do that. They don't put their, the couple and the needs of the relationship first. I think Hazel Weiss just resubmitted. Oh, she said you just answered because okay. She said never mind. Are you, because originally she said, are you all speaking about self-care as individuals, in the relationship, or together? Yes, we're talking about self-care tonight in reference to the couple together. However, as the panelists said earlier, individuals who practice good self-care themselves and they bring that self-care to the relationship, and then that couple practices self-care together, then that's a win-win for everybody, for sure. So we're tonight we're definitely focusing in on couples as a unit and self-care. That's what Ms. Weiss was asking. Okay. So just wondering, what are some thoughts about, sometimes there's a conflict, there's discord, couples. Generally, and again, you both see couples more than I do, but generally, um, the couples, when they come to therapy, when they get to the point where they come to therapy, unless it's premarital therapy, and I've done some of that, issues like, communication, um, finances, infidelity, maybe there's a few other major things that the couples come into counseling or therapy for. But what are your thoughts about what can happen if one partner is planning to take an active investment rather in pair care or dealing with the whole couple and the couple self-care, and the other doesn't understand the significance of that or believe it's even needed? As we're talking about couples and self-care, sometimes there's a split, there's a discrepancy. One person sees the importance of it, the benefit of it, the need of it. And again, our listening audience, feel free to add a question, comment, to chime in as we're talking about couples and self-care tonight.
I think sometimes one partner, like you said, if they prioritize self care, the other person might not believe in it, might not invest in it, and that becomes a point of contention and a disconnect in that. And maybe one person doesn't even understand the whole idea of what self care looks like. There's sometimes I see in couples, there's one who constantly goes like, I have to get this done, I have to do this. Anytime I rest, I'm not allowing myself to rest because there's work to be done. We have goals and we can't sit down because the goals have to be met. Then the other person who has maybe experienced burnout or has seen somebody experience burnout,
Yeah.
or just prioritize themselves or prioritizing self-care, says we can still get things done, but we need to take a break and connect as a couple. And if the other one doesn't compromise or connect, then we're in sessions talking about um, you're just avoiding the work that we have to do. So it gets lost in what the actual need is, and everybody's just operating as individuals in the marriage or as a couple.
Thank you. Candace, any thoughts about that?
No, and I would agree, just prioritizing and coming up with joint priorities together. You can have your own, priorities and things that you think are important, and that's great. But then how do we come together and agree on something? If it's not everything, at least one thing, and trying to find that commonality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're constantly learning from each other, right? We're learning from our partners, and the relationship is constantly growing. It's either growing together or growing apart. So ask yourself, like, what am I contributing when I say no? I'm not going to participate with you in this moment of rest. When I say no, I'm not going to participate with you in this moment of self care, whatever that looks like. I think again, like having that conversation of this is for us. I need to show up better for you, and I need you to show up better for me, and that way our marriage or our couple, our relationship performs better.
Absolutely. Um, I have a couple that I started seeing them both when they were dating. They got engaged, they got married, they're both professional. they've been seeing me for a few years, and we dropped down to once a month, and they're doing fine overall. But recently I got pretty concerned because of the level of busyness with what they do in the industries. Um, the male in the relationship actually was um, crying out literally in the session that he's not getting any quality time. There's hardly no interaction. They're passing each other, because of work schedules, and then on the weekend, with the way that the wife works per his perception, he hardly has any time to spend with her, and hardly any communication, etc. And I had to give them a pretty strong assignment to help them, you know, both realize and invest in the understanding of pair care, understanding that they had to do things with their lives and their schedules. They had to do things to intentionally put the relationship first, even though they both are busy professionals. And as a clinician working with them, and you work with people for a while, and you have a heart for the people you work with. I was heavily concerned about kind of where they were, because it sounded like they were headed for some pitfalls, because they have not had any pair care in about a month together. So sometimes we have these things, and we have these situations that come into our space. So
What was the assignment that you gave them?
sure, the assignment I gave them, for me, which was big for them, was every Thursday night, to engage in weekend planning, to sit down and both map out their weekend, and at some point or points during the weekend, they have some set apart pair care time for them as a couple. That they're not working, and they have no kids either. They're not working. They're not doing chores, but they are figuring out something that they can do. So I'm seeing them now once a month. So I am hopeful that when they come back again, or I may have to start seeing them a little bit more frequently again. I'm hopeful that they will have scheduled something, based upon their life schedules and how they flow, every week. So looks like thank you. Looks like we got a comment. Someone said, yeah, thank you. Someone said that's good. Sit and plan. Yeah, they need to. Definitely. Good. Absolutely. So with that being said, let's talk about pair care and a few items from the book. So one of the things that I mentioned in the chapter was working out. So couples and working out. What do you guys think about that? I know you both. Candace, I don't know if I've ever seen you post. Actually, I don't know if either one of you have ever seen you. I'm not saying you don't, but I don't know if either one of you ever posted up with you and your significant other working out. But what do you? What you may or you may not. But what? I know you both are into working out, etc. But you don't have to. You don't have to go personal. But what are your thoughts about couples and working out? But if you want to share your personal, you can. What are your thoughts about couples and working out as a good pair care activity for couples?
I think it's great if you have similar workout styles and you enjoy that person being in your space when you're working out. I think it's great. I have some couples that do it, and they encourage one another. They meal plan, which is good, because it's a lifestyle change, and you both need to be kind of engaged in it. Sometimes for people to be most successful. So I think it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It, like you said, if you have similar workout styles, because you need to have some grace, some patience, and understanding. I know my wife and I, we started out working out together, but we don't have the same workout styles. And so it wasn't, I wasn't going to allow that to be a disconnect for us. We're just going to work out at different times. Like she does different workouts than me. Like I zone in and I go out and I listen to my music and stuff like that. Sometimes she wants to talk and I'll be in the middle of something. And I say, babe, let me just knock this out. or sometimes she wants to do something and I'm not interested or whatever that is, but we have a compromise that we're both setting a goal and we talk about, hey, did you work out today? How was your workout? Or whatever it looks like. Like we'll meet each other when we meet our goals. Like we have our weigh-ins and stuff like that, and we have our surprises or whatever that looks like. But I think having the compromise and having the conversation, more communication about like what is your workout style, and not getting offended when somebody doesn't want to do the same workout that you're doing.
My health coach trainer chimed in. I'm not sure. Do you see the comment?
No, what'd he say? I just know him. So I'm like,
He's so special. I'm going to share this. I don't know which way he rephrased it, but I'm just going to share what he, and you can tell me what you take away from this.
okay.
He meant to say couples working out is good. We don't need to work out together, but cardio we do together. So
Absolutely. I know you saw that recent meme. They're talking about 7 minutes of intimacy equals I don't know how long they said it was, like a mile run or 3 miles or something like that. So
That's good to know.
oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, that's what that he said. He just comment. He said, yeah, that's it. See? So okay.
Of course, Kenneth, we hear you.
All right. So I think, and we have some couples who couples who go to the gym together, but they go their separate ways. Sometimes some, because of their, like, you and Paul, Candace mentioned, sometimes people have different workout regimens, but couples working out is definitely a good activity. Sometimes, even if people are home and they say, this is our workout time, and people go into their separate spaces or they go to a gym, they do different stuff. Couples don't have to physically work out together and do the same workout schedule or pattern, because sometimes that can lead to conflict and arguments and tension. I've seen that as well. So, okay. Thank you, Kenneth Clemens, for all of those comments. And we're not posting the last one. All right. So, so one other thing that couples can do together is prepare a meal. And I'm not much of a chef, but I think both of you do. I think I've seen posts and videos of both of you making meals, at least individually. What are your thoughts about couples as a pair care activity? There's something else I mentioned in the chapter for couples and self-care. What are your thoughts about couples taking time to prepare a meal together?
I think that's cute, but I don't really want them in my kitchen.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. All right.
I cook, you eat.
Okay.
You take out the trash. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think that's nice. If you share that passion for cooking and food and preparation, I think it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely nice.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
No, I was just saying, for some couples, I know some couples where the husband does all the grocery shopping and the wife does all the cooking. And for her, that's like a win-win because she hates going to the grocery store. So figure out what works.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying earlier, the communication. What does it look like to show up like that? So my wife and I, we cook together every once in a while, but some days, I'll cook for her. Some days she'll cook for me. And some days we're eating totally different because she's a pescatarian. And some days I want a steak.
How about that?
Or chicken, whatever that is. So, right. So we're not eating the same meal, but we're eating together. We're cooking separately. So it just really depends.
That's another aspect as far as a pair care activity for couples, that with the cooking of the meal, people really get together. People really get to know, people's eating patterns, styles, what people like, what they don't. You may have to shop, particularly for the ingredients, the fun of, completing a meal together, unless your nutrition and diet stuff is way different, which, Paul, in your case, it could be, with that. So, okay. So that's another, so working out is one. I think I was about 6 or 7 pair care activities I mentioned in the non-negotiable self-care book. Working out is one, preparing a meal is another, and one of the other ones that I wanted to mention was taking a trip together. I think all of us on this panel travel. All of us on this panel travel. I'm sure all of us here have trips already planned or scheduled or lined up for this year. I think me and Paul had a little running joke one time on Facebook, wondering who was flying out more. And I think you had me beat. I do. I really do.
I
So
don't know about that. I don't know
yeah.
about that.
So we all know the importance of travel, and there's a few comments. I'm going to come back to those in a minute. So feel free, listening audience, feel free to ask questions, leave a comments. We see you. We'll post them. We will address them. Okay. So traveling is a good form of self-care for couples to refresh, relax, replenish, get away. From a personal perspective or just looking at it clinically, what do you both see as the benefits of couples using travel as self-care? I have some couples who never travel together, and yeah. So what do you either personally and or clinically, what are your thoughts about couples taking time to plan and travel together?
I think it's important to plan to do things together that you both want to do. If one person has a different type of travel they prefer, giving people the space to also do things on their own is important. Like say one person likes international travel and one person prefers domestic. Okay, so don't stop me from going some of those places that I'd like to go, but then let's plan something together is important.
Yeah. I think it's that compromise, that word when, as my wife likes to be in the cold, I want to be on the beach somewhere. So we got to split that up. So we'll go to the mountains and then we'll go to an island. But also when you get there, when you're actually on a vacation together, a lot of things are revealed on vacation. That can make or break a relationship. And I can see,
Enlighten us, please. Enlighten us. What's revealed on the vacation? Help us.
well, if you don't communicate like your needs on a relation, like on a vacation, like say, like I'll use myself for an example. I told you this a year in transparency. Before my wife, I went on a vacation and the person didn't like to be outside, but we were in Jamaica. So it didn't make any sense.
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't want to go to Jamaica to be inside the resort, right? And so there was a disconnect there. And at some point, I felt neglected that my needs weren't being met. And so I went to, you know what, I'm gonna be outside. Like I'll see you when I see you. But that revealed a lot of other disconnects as well. And this is in the 20s, right?
Mm.
So realizing, like, identifying like you travel together because again, you're not at your particular homes. You have to share space with people. You have to
Mm,
wake up together,
mm.
breakfast at a certain time,
Mhm.
lunch at a certain time, dinners at a certain time, excursions, like what
That's right.
happens, all those different things, how you treat the waiters, how you treat the different people. Like you can only hold on for so long that facade
You talk.
because you're on vacation for a while, right? So you're showering, you're just how you take care of yourself. All those things are revealed. You're in this space, which is called vacation, it's supposed to be a getaway, but you're getting to know.
That's right. That's good. It's good stuff. Definitely good stuff.
And I was
Um,
going to say something real
and
quick, just about different styles. Like I'm a person that likes to go, 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 and I like to have like everything planned. While my partner doesn't, so I have to kind of dial it back and say, you know what? Okay, even if I do have a plan, maybe I won't let them know it's a plan, and it'll just seem like it's organic. But I just have to like sometimes relax because I'll be trying to do too much. So you have to know people's styles and be willing to kind of pull back and let them kind of what their needs are be in the forefront versus your need to do so much.
Yeah, and then the other thing is to take the pressure off of you two. I use my friend who's a travel agent to plan everything. So me and my wife aren't arguing about what it is. We both express what we need, what we want, and everything is laid out.
That's nice. I like that.
absolutely. I'm with you with that, Paul. I have a travel agent for most of my trips too, and that's it. I don't. Yeah.
I would be the holder of the paper, and he'd be like, "What's next?"
Some Kenneth, traveling brings us together and gives us time to remember why we fell in love. Okay,
That's sweet.
that is
Yeah.
sweet.
You get away from the hustle and bustle of the everyday and get to again spend time with each other and get to know each other, address each other's needs, and without all the other responsibilities.
Favorite, favorite, uh, top two favorite travel places you both have been to. Top two favorite.
Top two. Barbados and Salamander. Those are my top two.
I like Barbados. Haven't been to Salamander.
Gotta go. It's Black owned.
Yeah, we need to go there. I would say Kenya and Dubai, probably.
Haven't been to either yet.
Nice.
On my list, I think for me, let's see. I think it's been, I would say Jamaica and Aruba for me so far. But okay, good stuff. Let's go a little bit deeper. We talk about couples and pair care and couples engaging in good self-care. Let's dive a little bit deeper. Is it possible that couples, due to their schedules and busyness, have to potentially schedule sex? It is
Absolutely.
It is something that I mentioned. It is something that I mentioned here in one of the pair care activities. Is it possible that couples have to? There's people commenting already. Okay, is it possible that couples might have to schedule sex as much as we're in a world of spontaneity, but is it possible with people's lives and schedules and missing each other and work that has to possibly happen? Is that a bad thing?
So I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say for women, they probably need to make it a priority and in their mind schedule more than men, because men are always ready. So if you say to yourself, okay, this is a day that I know that I can work this in, you don't even necessarily have to tell your partner that this is the day we're going to have sex. You just work it into your mind that this is what you're going to do. And then you become the person that initiates it and it happens. But you really need to make it a priority and make sure it happens for both of you.
That's good. I try to normalize this for the people who've been planning sex since they started dating, right? Because when you think, it's like, all right, I'm going to go meet so-and-so, we're going to go out to dinner, we're going to have drinks, and hopefully something goes down. Everybody shaves, everybody gets ready, you got the cologne on, the perfume on, and so they're essentially planning sex if that's their level of relationship. So now you move into another phase, and the expectation is that effort that I put in to plan sex goes away because it just automatically happens, when that's not necessarily true. The idea is I need to continue that effort, to continue that tone, and the way that we create intimacy, whether we start in the morning, I'm planning at that particular time. Like I'm going to be soft all day. I'm going to be connected all day because that's something that I really want us to do later. So even if you say, when I get off work today, it's on, that's a plan. True. So we have to normalize it instead of getting in our heads and saying, because I think what happens, some feel they're not getting it enough. And then they feel rejected or feel neglected or feel whatever they feel to say that I have to plan this now. You should just give this to me. But we're not having a conversation now. We're not creating intimacy for us to even be in that space.
That's good.
We're not taking people into consideration what the long day has been like. Well, yes, I did plan, but I had a crazy day. Let's talk about our crazy day. So it's just needs to be more communication.
I like what you said, though, about like planning in the morning and being intentional about things that you might do throughout the day to make that happen at the end of the day. While it's not, it might have been in your plan, maybe not in her plan, but she got to that space because you set that in motion throughout the day. And by the end of the day, it was just like, okay, this is a good thing.
Okay. Kenneth he's in it tonight. Okay. Working out together is foreplay. It can help increase your sex drive in both men and women. Yeah, this is true. There are research studies to support that. So that is very true. So I think all of the comments mentioned were dead on with that. All right. So within the book, Non-Negotiable Self-Care, near the end, there's a few case examples with some particulars of, in a safe, private, confidential way over the years of different situations I've encountered. So I'm going to read a case study and we're going to talk about it a little bit. All right. So, a married couple in their mid 30s was having a very challenging time dealing with a new life adjustment and setup with the arrival of a newborn as their first child. The couple was previously accustomed to freely moving about and having a lot of free time with each other. As a couple, they had a lot of free time without the constant struggle of a newborn. In addition, they're now working from home, losing access to daycare for a time period. They have reported not having any type of family vacation over the last 2 to 3 years as well. They have both been failing at engaging in good self care individually and as a couple. Symptom presentation has been stress, anger, overwhelmed, unhealthy coping skills, arguments, incomplete work related tasks, exhaustion, boredom, and restlessness. First question: how do you see this couple lacking in their own self care? They got a lot going on, but how do you see them lacking in their own self care?
I wonder if they even get a break. I mean, just listening to what you were saying when I looked at it before, I just thought, do they even get a break? And are they creating space for one another to get breaks? You know what I mean? Like, I'll take the baby, I'll do this to give you time to focus on you. And then when you give each other that space and time, then you can come back together and have a different outcome, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What does it look like to share some of the responsibilities, or sometimes not take on all the responsibilities of everything that we were doing before we had our baby? And now I think people think that we got to keep the same routine. We're losing this a sense of self when those things are no longer priority at this time. So now we have our child. Now we have other stuff. I'm not saying neglect, but we have to shift priorities at this particular time.
And reset, like, did they have a conversation? You know, you plan for the baby, you have the baby, then the baby's here. Have you talked about, is this working, is this not working, is this what we expected, what do we need to shift and change? Maybe they're just caught up in the doing of things and not really looking at the how behind
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I guess there's a number of questions that I kind of addressed in the book. But let me ask you both this one question based upon that case example. If you were counseling them, what advisement would you probably give to them concerning them addressing their lack of self care? And I know you don't, not a formal treatment plan officially, but just, just because that can go, I know it can go into specifics, but yeah.
Yeah, I would think, what does self-care look like for you all? And has it changed with the change and shift in your relationship and your family makeup? Things that might have been what they called self-care before might not be possible, or they might need to change them, readjust.
Mhm. And I guess me, the same thing is like, what does the relationship need right now? And part of that is
Mm,
rest. And so, how can I contribute to the rest? What am I doing to take away from the rest? What am I doing to contribute to the self care? What am I doing to take away from the self care? So I'm identifying the different places, or we say domains in our lives that are happening, and saying, okay, what can I do to improve this particular area of our life?
thank you. Thank you. So again, for everybody tuning in, I see a number of people have come in from Facebook and YouTube. We're talking tonight about couples and self-care. We're about to wrap up in a little bit, but pair care is the couples intentionally and purposely investing in their own self-care, being deliberate and intentional and focused about that. It's a whole chapter assigned to couples it's not a long chapter, but it's a whole chapter assigned to couples and couples engaging in self-care in my book. Paul and Candace, if anybody is on here uh, tonight, and before I ask you this last question, we got a comment that just came in. Yes, is this recorded? Want to see the beginning? This part extremely helpful. Thank you. Yes, Twan, it will be saved on my YouTube page, DMV Therapist. So after tonight, you'll be able to watch it at any point. And presently, my Facebook page is public. It will be more private tomorrow, but it will be on my page. So you should be able to watch this. Go to YouTube. After this is over, it'll be there tonight. DMV Therapist for anyone looking or came in late, because I know a number of people, looks like about 20 people on, jumped in. You should be able to watch it on my YouTube page, DMV Therapist. All right. Last question for you both. If there's anybody here that is really struggling and lacking in their own self-care, they're in a relationship, they're dating, they're engaged, they're married, and they realize that, hey, as a couple, we need to improve and enhance our self-care. That is really bad. We need to make enhancements and improvements. Any parting words to anybody listening that's in a relationship and they know they need to improve or practice good self-care as a couple? Any parting words?
I would say if there's something outside of the relationship that is taking you away from focusing on it, that you might need to pull back from that. And if you're worried about disappointing others, it's not your responsibility to manage their disappointment. You need to focus on what's important in the space where you live, in your relationship, in your home. So the power of saying no to some things is the biggest, I think, exercise of self-care, and being okay with that. And I think sometimes we feel guilty. I think you touched on that earlier, just in not feeling like we're showing up or being all the things for everyone else. But it starts at home. You got to take care of you and your home and your house.
Thank you, Candace.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I think the couple who's struggling with that is maybe you guys need to do a non-judgmental needs assessment. What do I need at this particular moment? And why am I feeling like we aren't having self-care? I'm not being prioritized. And put it out, because you're having that conversation without the partner anyway, which is also a form of self-neglect when you're not sharing what you need, because you're now holding yourself hostage from allowing your partner to show up for you. So do an exercise, non-judgmental needs assessment, and then come together and then create a couples agreement. That's something that I created, I use with all my couples. And we talk about, okay, this is what the relationship needs. This is what I need. So how can we meet?
Thank you. Thank you both for that. Candace, if any of our listening audience wants to follow you, connect with you, how can they do that?
CDHconnections.com is my website. And there's a place there that you can put, send a comment that goes straight to my email.
Yeah. Any other networks that you want to share, or anything else you're doing or will be doing in the future you want to mention?
Oh, yeah, right. I'm writing a book. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Dion. I forgot.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Sure.
Yes, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a memoir. It is based on how do you gracefully care for an aging parent. So it's going to be a funny memoir about me and my daddy. So it's coming out probably this year. I'm working on it.
Okay. Thank you. Paul?
You can find me at Bashe Williams on everything. That's BASHEA Williams on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. My videos are old, but I'm about to start doing some more. So my website is bashewilliams.com. If you're looking for mental health services, it's heartsinmindcounseling.com. I'm also the author of Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. That's available on Amazon as well as my website. And I'm working on, we're working on 2 books. One with my wife that's almost done. It should be out. It's called When Love Aligns. With Dear Marriage, When Love Aligns. And then my personal book, is sort of like a memoir. It comes out in September on my birthday, September 15th. It's Found, a Self-Discovery for Men.
Nice. Great stuff. And again, I am Dion Brown. You can find me on IG at _DMV therapist, YouTube DMV therapist. And if you are in need of mental health counseling, djbtherapeutic-solutions.com. And if you would like to purchase a copy of my new book, Non-Negotiable Self-Care, that really caters to self-care in general, rest is self-care, the self-care core 4, my personal struggle with self-care for men, women, couples, the elderly, religious leaders in the workplace. Please go to my website to purchase a copy. Purchase a copy for yourself and someone you love, because we all need help and improvement in our self-care. You can go to my website, thank you, Candace, DJB Therapeutic Solutions /book. All right. We want to thank you all for tuning in and listening and sharing in the comments. Paul and Candace, this was a great launch for the virtual book tour. I am grateful that I know you both are very active and very busy lives. So I thank you for your time and your assistance. We're going to be here March 17th. We're going to be having our virtual book tour every other Thursday. Most Thursdays will be 7:30, but March 17th will be the exception. At 6 p.m., we're going to be talking about men and self-care. And we have two great brothers who are going to be joining us, who are also clinicians, talking about men and self-care. So March 16th at 6 p.m., we'll be here live on Facebook, Dion Brown, and YouTube, DMV Therapist. Make sure you subscribe to my growing YouTube channel, DMV Therapist. Make sure you subscribe.
March 17th. You said 16th to 17th.
March, Thursday, March 17th at 6 p.m. There we go. Thank you. And I'm again grateful that everyone is here. And thank you both for your time. And you all enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.